Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're looking at an unidentified female Jane Doe as well as a Jane Doe who was once a Jane Doe and then they found out who killed her, and then later they found out who she was over time. So first we have the Jane Doe, and she was discovered July 25th, 1977 in Yakima, Washington. She was killed 2 weeks to a month prior, and I believe she was strangled, although it doesn't say that here. And this one was found August 14th, 1977, and I don't think she was killed much longer before that. So this one, they're very close to when they were killed. Um, This one was, it says ages 18 to 30 years old, and it also says she could be anywhere from 5'3" to 5'9". She was 120 to 160 pound, brown hair, brown eyes. She had a surgical scar on her abdomen, a small 5-point star tattooed on her inner right thigh. They do have her dentals, her fingerprints, and her DNA. It talks about the clothes that were found near her, including white panties with the phrase Scott Lily 2H were found outside the van. Forever Yours candy bar was found outside the van as well. The victim was located in the back of an abandoned green van parked in the old Yakima Hardware Company parking lot on South Front Street. The vehicle belonged to a nonprofit group. It hadn't been driven for months. The rear door could be latched but not locked. Inside the van, the woman's body was found face down and nude except for the socks on her feet. She wasn't killed inside the vehicle. I'm not sure where she was killed. I don't know if she was killed outside the vehicle and then put inside. It says there was a green sweater and a blue shirt had been placed over her upper body, maybe to hide her. She was struck in the face with a blunt object, strangled, and sexually mutilated. Around the time the murder was publicized, tipsters told police the victim was a West Valley resident living with her boyfriend. A man thought she was his ex-wife. A notary public speculated the victim was one of two married individuals that came in seeking a divorce. Another claimed to have seen the young woman at a cafe along North First Street who lived in at the Rosa Hotel and spent time with members of a motorcycle gang. Additionally, an investigator working on a missing person case from Mount Rainier National Park called, citing the descendant's similar description. The victim was exhumed July 2004. They have the fingerprints and soft tissue samples were, or not soft, but the tissue samples were sent to the FBI lab in Washington, D.C. Her identity still hasn't been established, and it says they may use genetic genealogy and efforts to identify the victim, but it looks like they haven't done that yet. And if you have any information, there's some contact numbers for you. And then we have this one, and she was known as Precious Jane Doe. She was found August 14th, 1977, just after 1 p.m. Somebody was out picking blackberries near 11300 block of 4th Avenue West in an unincorporated South Everett. Local residents came across the body of a young white female. It was obvious to investigators at the time she had been deceased for several days, and it quickly became apparent that she was a victim of foul play, but there was no identification was found with her, and due to the condition of her remains, visual identification was impossible. They said the young woman would become known as Snohomish County Coroner's Case Number 77-8-621 Jane Doe. They performed an autopsy. They found she had been shot multiple times in the head with a .22 caliber firearm. There were no shell casings recovered from the scene. She Given her prolonged exposure to the elements, her hands were unable to be fingerprinted, so using their traditional methods that they had at the time. So they were removed and sent to the FBI crime lab for fingerprint comparison. They said that was standard practice at the time. Her skull was retained for possible identification at a later date through dental comparison, and they buried her body, which they did at the time, but now they don't do that. They keep unidentified descendants in a medical examiner's office now until they can identify who they are. It said in the days following her discovery, a man by the name of David Roth confessed to a friend that he had killed a hitchhiker in Everett. The friend notified the authorities, and detectives with the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office searched Roth's vehicle and found .22 caliber rifle, ammunition, bungee cords, and multiple shell casings. It would be months before ballistics testing tied the rifle to the rounds recovered from Jane Doe at the autopsy. Roth was arrested in January 1979, over 2 years after she was discovered. He was arrested on marijuana charges, but shortly after detectives began asking about Jane Doe, he confessed. Roth told detectives that he picked her up when she was hitchhiking along Bothell-Everett Highway near Silver Lake on August 9, 1977. And after rebuffing his advances, Roth became angry, strangled her with bungee cords, and dragged her away from his car before shooting her. He also said she never told him her name after he picked her up. He was tried and found guilty of first-degree murder in November 1979 and remained imprisoned until his release in 2005. Meanwhile, the investigation into her identity went cold, and it talks about all the different things they did to try to find out who she is. And I'm not going to read all of this, but you can pause it and read it, and I will scroll down so you can see where I'm at, and then you can pause it if you like, because I don't want to read it all. I'm just going to get to the very bottom where they discover who she was. So, and it says, finally in 2020, Dr. Ray Venner and her team made a breakthrough. They had narrowed down Jane Doe's likely parents, but all of their children appeared to be accounted for in the most widely used genealogy websites. Then they found a single reference to an Elizabeth Marie Elder on the website genealogy.com, along with 3 brothers that they had already known about. Dr. Ray Venner provided Detective Sharp and the medical examiner's office with the name and the names of the 3 half-siblings, along with an aunt. Detective Sharp contacted one of Elizabeth's half-sisters, and she confirmed that her mother had told her about a daughter named Elizabeth that she had given up for adoption when she was young. A half-brother who had also been given up for adoption at a young age was located, and it was discovered that his DNA profile happened to have been uploaded to Ancestry.com. Dr. Ray Venner was able to get his profile uploaded to Jed Match, and when compared against Jane Doe, found that they shared an amount of DNA consistent with a half-sibling relationship. Elizabeth's half-sibling stated that she was born in Oregon in 1959. She was given up for adoption at a young age following the divorce of her parents, who also had 3 sons. Her birth mother would later remarry and have 3 more daughters. Her birth father remarried soon after Elizabeth was adopted by her new family. He was tragically killed in a car accident in Oregon in 1970, along with his new wife, and 3 sons that he had with Elizabeth's birth mother. And then they had rumors that she had ran away after finding out she was adopted, but over the years, her mother reconnected with Elizabeth's half-brother, who also gave up for adoption when Elizabeth was born, who was also given up, the half-brother. So, and then it talks about them hiring private detectives and trying to find information and things like that. So, and then it goes down here and it says, following her adoption, she was renamed Elizabeth Ann Roberts and went by the name Lisa. She was a junior at Roseburg High School in Oregon when she ran away from home on July 25, 1977, after a disagreement with her parents, and not, as rumored by her blood relatives, because she had discovered she was adopted. He stated she was aware that she had been adopted long before she ran away from home. She was reported missing to local authorities the same day she ran away. They initiated a missing persons report in NCIC. However, for some unknown reason, it was removed the same day. So if you know somebody that's been missing for a long time, you need to go and make sure they've been reported missing. So soon after, she phoned home and told her parents that she was in Everett, Washington, but refused to come back to Oregon and would not tell them who she was staying with. When she asked for money, her father sent $500 to a bank in Everett, but he learned later that it had never been picked up, and they never heard from her again. Her father stated that while in high school, Elizabeth played the flute, and shortly before she ran away, another boy at school, I think he hit her with the flute she was playing, which broke both the flute and her 2 front teeth, which had to be repaired by a dentist. So I don't know exactly what happened. But on June 16, 2020, after reviewing the findings provided by Dr. Barbara Ray Venter and Detective Sharp, Snohomish County Chief Medical Examiner Dr. J. Matthew Lacey formally identified Precious Jane Doe as Elizabeth Lisa Ann Roberts. She has since been released from the medical examiner's office and entered into a cemetery near her family. And then they go on to thank several people. So, and there's a photo of her. So, such a sad story. So don't forget to pray for her and her loved ones, because that is just so sad that someone would do that to her. And don't forget to pray for this person and to be solved, and their loved ones as well, and the investigators. So thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye-bye.